Hello and welcome to Otterwood Cottage, where we're building a brand new smallholding in the heart of the Lincolnshire countryside. I'm Emma and we're delighted to have you along with us. So we're on the 3rd of August today and I have been in a real funk. July has passed us by and for one reason and another I just don't feel like I've achieved everything that I wanted to achieve by the time we'd got to the beginning of August. And for a bit of context for you, we've got quite a lot of stuff going on, family stuff going on, which isn't directly relevant to the small holding, but is having an impact on the amount of mental capacity and physical time and energy that we have available to us to dedicate to the small holding. So that's part of what's going on. But also just I've been really struggling to find the motivation to do the things that I know I really want to do, and I definitely have a mental block sometimes when things get a bit overwhelming, when things start to feel like there's lots going on in lots of different places. I do this kind of mental thing where I activate wait mode. So if I've got something to do that day, taking my daughter to work, for example, at lunchtime, then when I'm feeling overwhelmed by lots that needs doing, I kind of activate wait mode for the day until I do the thing I need to do at lunchtime, and I kind of waste the morning. So I don't know if that's a very specific to me thing or if other people have this this kind of mental block. I'd be interested to know if anyone else does this as well. But it's like I can't focus on anything else until I've done the thing that I need to do, even if it's a small errand, going to the doctor, or I don't know, it could be anything. I don't have it all the time, but I definitely do have it, I've noticed, when there is lots going on and I've got lots to think about. It's almost as though my brain can't manage anything else, and therefore I just kind of I'm a bit rabbit in headlights. It's definitely wait mode, as I say. So anyway, I tell you that not because I want sympathy or because I need a tiny violin to sing a song for me, but really just to explain why I'm filming the video I'm filming today and why I'm in the headspace I'm in. And what I'm going to do today is have you help me hold myself to account for the things that I definitely want to get done during August. So July I didn't get many of the things done that I had hoped to do. That means that there's a knock-on into August for the tasks that I'd like to achieve, and I keep walking around the property and just seeing things that need doing and kind of making a mental note of those things, and that mental list has got too big to manage. So the purpose of this video is really twofold. So it is both to give you a full plot tour, because we're going to go around the whole property, but also for this to help me hold myself and you to hold me to account for all of the things that I want to get done in August, and having a bit more of a structure and a clear pathway to get that done. So I am going to just take you around in a second and show you what's coming in, show you all the positives, show you everything that we're really pleased with, but also as we go I will start to make a list of all of the things that I know I would like to achieve, and when I edit this video I'll write those down, and then by the end of August hopefully I'll be making another video where I'm showing you how I've achieved all of those things that we've agreed today in this video, you and I, that we're going to get done in August. Another couple of things that have just played into, I think, having that kind of strange state of mind is I've had a few frustrations, silly things around YouTube related. So I'd filmed a whole load of content for 3 different cooking videos and was all ready to voice those over, and for some reason known only to itself, my iPhone and iMovie on my iPhone, which is how I edit these, were refusing to talk to each other at the moment. So iMovie couldn't see the videos that I'd recorded, which meant I couldn't get that content out, and I wasted several hours trying to fix that. If you've ever had a tech problem that you can't solve, you'll know how frustrating that is. So that's been annoying. I ended up having to delete those videos, which felt like, I mean, it's not the end of the world. I made some yummy food and we got to eat it, so it wasn't as though it was wasted, but just frustrating that I couldn't get those out to you, and also that I'd kind of spent time and energy setting the camera up, filming, and it didn't come to anything. So that was a little bit frustrating, and explains why there's been no content for the last couple of weeks. But I've also had my first, and this is really probably not something that in any other circumstances would bother me. I've got a pretty thick skin normally, and I do understand that by putting stuff out there on the internet, you're opening yourself up to people having opinions. But I had my first really quite unkind comments on one of the videos, and I don't do social media anywhere other than YouTube, because I find social media to be a very unkind, unpleasant place on the whole. But I'd been lulled into a probably false sense of security around YouTube being a nicer corner of the internet, and this community in particular has been so kind and so lovely and so warm and so generous with your comments and your feedback, and even when we get stuff wrong, you're on our side, and we get plenty of stuff wrong. So to have had some unkind comments, yeah, it kind of knocked me more than I expected it to. And probably only because everything that's going on more generally, normally I think I'd be thicker skinned, but those two things haven't helped. So anyway, I digress. I will stop complaining now. I will take you around and show you the full plot tour. You can see everything starting in the veg plot. We'll go into the kitchen garden. We'll also go out to the field, to cow fields and to the woodland, and I'll show you everything. Let's go. Okay, so in the veg plot, and the first thing I wanted to talk you through were the beans and the peas. So at this end, starting with the Greek gigantes, they are doing fabulously, and one of the things I think I probably want to do is lift them off of this. In a couple of places they're touching the electric fencing, which isn't doing them any good at all, nor is it doing the electric fencing any good. So I want to get them off of those and get a couple of uprights, so some bamboo canes probably strapped into the fencing so they can climb a bit higher, because they're wanting to get taller than the fence, which I always knew they would, but they are there now and ready to go. The beans I will show you a close-up in just a second, but they are coming along fantastically, and these are drying beans, so these Greek gigantes are to stay on the plant until they come to the end of their season. They will dry on the plant, and then we will pod them from there. Similarly for the Emergo runner beans, look, this one has grown up. This post is holding this plastic down, and it's grown up there instead of the fence, so I'll probably unwind that, pin it to the fence. Just like the Greek gigantes, they need to get some stringing up, and I can probably think about taking a harvest from these. They're not quite as far along as the Greek gigantes, the ones that are coming, but oh well, some of them are. That one's enormous. So there are some nice big Emergo. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. We all know, I think by now, my pronunciation of varieties is appalling. But yeah, we've got some fantastic runner beans. And then these ones here, exactly the same thing needs to happen. They're getting nice and tall, so they need a bit of extra support. Some of them are growing out and along instead of up, so I'll give them a bit more support. And these are a mix of, there's some Trail of Tears, which are to be left again on the vine and picked when they're done. So that's Trail of Tears at this end. And I forget, there was also something, oh here we go, Czar runner beans. So again, I think these ones, I need to look that up. I think the Czars are for eating fresh rather than drying. So I can take a harvest from those. And then these poor peas, I mean, they've just come to the end, which is fine. I've let them go to seed. I'd let them dry on the plant, and I will harvest those. They're not all fully dry yet, so I'm going to let those fully dry, sad as they look, and once they're fully dry I'll harvest those, and they will be next year's seed. It's not been the best year for peas for us. I'm talking to some other people on YouTube and elsewhere. Although a couple of people have had a good year, I don't think we're alone. The peas that we planted to scramble in that bed are also, they're further behind those. They're not finished like those ones are, but they're also not doing particularly well. I'll show you in a minute. So yeah, not the best year for peas, but there will be enough on there, I think, to harvest seed for next year. And I may additionally buy some fresh, just in case they haven't performed well because of the seed that we grew, which was sow seed. Although I suspect it's more to do with weather conditions. So that's that row there. And then as you can see here, there is some nutrient harvesting to do in this space. It's not too bad. It's just the big plants that have come through. The wood chipped area, which has got cardboard underneath. But in a couple of places they've come through. So they need pulling out and popping onto the compost. Flipping you round then to see the main beds. Various bits and pieces to do here. There's some weeding, some nutrient harvesting to do, particularly in the pathways. The beds themselves aren't too bad at all. This was the second chaos bed that I planted, and both chaos beds, the jury is definitely out. Some of what's there I'm pleased with, some of it I've not been particularly impressed with. There's a little bit of grass coming through, for example here in some of these beds, but largely I've been adding to the beds rather than them having done well themselves. So all of the plants you can see here, there's some sage at the end, there's some flowers gone in here, I can't remember what they were, but they were added after the fact. They weren't part of what I planted, or rather where they weren't part of what I sowed originally. I've been adding things as we go. This is a pile of the finished broad beans, which I have been slowly picking and podding. So rather embarrassingly, on a previous video I said they've gone black, there's something wrong with them. Actually, they just finished and dried on the pods. That's what they do by all accounts. So that's exactly what I wanted them to do. I'm podding those. I'm getting loads and loads of beans from those, which will be perfect for planting as ground cover come the winter. But that is quite an involved job. Cutting them down, pulling the pods off, podding them takes a little while. Quite a nice thing to do, sit and do out here on a sunny day with a nice audiobook playing. Where this bed has done well is with the beetroot and the chard. A couple of them have gone to seed, unsurprisingly, in the weather we've had, so I need to take those ones out that have gone to seed and give those to the chickens, but there's plenty in here still. We've been taking the leaves as salads whilst our actual lettuces are still growing. We've been taking the leaves from the beetroot and the chard mostly as salads. We've also been taking the bigger ones, cooking those. I just love to fry those in butter and garlic and have those as a side. Absolutely delicious. We've got some salad here, which is rather yummy. It's a nice crunchy salad. There's a couple of radish that have gone to seed. I think I've said on previous videos, I'm growing the radish this year for the seed pods. So I was never going to take the radish. So they haven't podded yet. Some more beetroot and chard here. The what's this called? Oh look, it's covered in bumblebees. The borage is perfect in both beds, growing really well, attracting the pollinators, which is exactly what we need. And there is some tree spinach here, also known as goosefoot. I've got that dotted around all over the place, and again, really delicious. We're using it both in salads and for cooking, so we're getting lots from that. This bed is currently mostly empty. This is where the garlic was, which you'll have seen in a previous video. We have harvested. There is some new beetroot growing here. I had interplanted 4 rows I think, of different things, but beetroot is the only thing that germinated, so that's fine. I've got some lettuces currently in the kitchen garden waiting to come out here, so they're going to go in here when I've got time to do that. The broad beans I've already talked about. We need to finish podding, and then that's going to empty this bit of bed. The celery, it's growing amazingly. It's doing really well, but it's a bit woody. What we're taking from it is quite short and stubby, and I mean, it tastes like celery should taste, but given how small it is, excuse me listening to me chew, probably not the most delightful thing. It's a bit woody, so I don't know if I've done something wrong or if it's the variety. I've never grown celery before, not successfully anyway. It's also a little bit bitter. So we're using very small amounts of this in salads, but actually the guinea pigs are getting more of it than anything else because I don't really like it, basically. And I quite like celery normally. So let me know in the comments, what have we done wrong with the celery? Should I have done something different? Our courgettes, courgettes always do well, don't they? And in fact, I've got, look at this, ridiculous marrow, not courgette. But we're taking lots of these, using these in various bits of cooking. There's a couple there. The chickens, I'm possibly out of shot now, let me come back in. The chickens absolutely adore these. So where they have been getting too big and turning into marrows, they've been going to the chickens and they have been loving them. They hollow them out in a matter of days. Right, I'm going to move you along so I don't lose you out of shot. And show you the other two rows. So this is another courgette which is going to come behind those ones when they start to go over, so hopefully that will give us succession. The dwarf beans, I'm really pleased with how they're doing. The majority of them, so they're yin yang there, there's Jacob's cattle at the end. They are both for drying, so they're going to stay on the pod and we're going to have those as dried beans. But I've got Strayonta beans which can be used either way, either fresh or for drying. And look how beautiful they are. Let me come around so I can look how beautiful they are, the colouring on them. And we've had quite a few of those fresh already, and we will be also allowing some to dry on the plant. So for my list of things to do in this bed, there's a little bit of nutrient harvesting there's a little bit of grass coming up, but other than that it's just to continue to pick the beans that we want to eat fresh, but otherwise just to keep an eye on it and let it keep going. I don't know if you can see from where you are, I'll bring you over for a close-up. I've got some carrots growing. Did I plant carrots? Well, here's something I hadn't realised hadn't remembered, but clearly I planted two rows of carrots here because they're germinating beautifully. They're going to need thinning out. But there's some giant red carrot, 2 rows of growing here, which is wonderful. They'll be coming in later in the season, and I'll bring you over for an up close and lay it over the top to show you both those, but also how sad these peas are. I mean, they're just pathetic. I don't know what else to say. The walking onions are doing us proud. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. They've bulked up beautifully. We're taking a couple as fresh onions for eating whole onions. We won't take them to store. We leave them in the ground and then they will grow their bulbils. Quite a few bulbils have already come and I've planted them in suitable spaces in between the ones that come, but this eventually, I think this will probably end up being a whole bed of garlic as they walk or grow, not garlic, onions, walking onions as they walk along the bed. We'll keep taking them that way season on season. But I've been absolutely thrilled with these, and in fact let me grab an example of the bulbils because these have fallen and dried, so I can get these planted and it shows you how they work. So they grow these, and these get heavy and they fall over and land themselves in the ground, and you can just leave them to do that by themselves, or you can do what I do and break them off as individual bulbils. And these ones are quite small examples. You sometimes get bigger ones, and you can either use them as little silver skin pickling onions, they're amazing like that, or you can pop them in the ground, which is what I'm going to do with these. When I've broken them up, found all the ones that need finding and pop them in. Another activity to get done in August, and we'll plant those in the ground. I'm going to put those there for now, and hopefully this video will remind me. These are the Lazy Susan, no, not Lazy Susan. These are Lazy Housewife, and I think activity wise, in terms of stuff I need to do, they could probably do with something a bit taller for them to climb up. I'm not seeing any fruit, is it fruit? Beans on them yet, but I'm trusting that they're growing pretty well and will therefore eventually give us some beans. They're drying beans anyway, so not too worried about those. The asparagus is giving a second flush, so I'm really pleased. Looks like every plant that we planted 40, and we did them quite late in the season if you remember, but it looks like pretty much every plant that we planted has at least thrown up one, and in some cases multiple asparagus. So obviously we won't take from those for a couple of years, but really pleased that we will in the long run have a harvest from those. And then these are ground cherries, which took ages to get going and all of a sudden have started to flourish, and they're just starting to flower, so we should get some ground cherries from those. The first chaos bed I planted I'm going to do up close because it's easier for you to see. Again, these are plants that I popped in later because nothing had come up here from what I'd sown straight into the ground. The calendula need deadheading, task to do. The goosefoot tree spinach, as I said, I've got dotted around all over the place. Really pleased with how that's coming on because it's feeding us plenty. More calendula to deadhead. Borage, we're going to take some of that and use it for making some fertiliser for feeding inside the polytunnel. There's some baby's breath looking very pretty there. Again, like in the other bed, the chard and the beetroot doing really well. A couple though have gone to seed, which I might just leave so that they can seed themselves back into the ground. There are some radish gone to seed. There's some carrots doing well in here. There are some, what are you? I don't know. What's that? What did I plant there that's now made that rather beautiful looking plant? So as a bed, I don't know, I felt like this was going to be more lush and beautiful than I think it is. Having said that, it is providing some structure, some interesting shapes, definitely popular with the pollinators, and if nothing else, I'm happy with that alone. You can see butterflies flying around it. But not a lot to tell you about the chaos bed. I mean, the idea is just to leave it to do its thing year on year, so I'm going to stick by that. I'm going to let it. But jury is definitely out. A task to do is to get this trimmed down here because that's getting crazy out of control. And then into the polytunnel, which is both our biggest success and probably the area where I need to spend the most time doing some tidying. I'm going to bring you in and show you up close what's going on in here, but I've started to take control of some of these tomatoes which have gone absolutely crackers, but there's some tomatoes which split and didn't do very well that I've just left on the floor, which I want to pick up so that we're not getting too many diseases and things in here. I need to clear out the stuff that I'm taking off. That has fallen down, so needs pinning up or I'm going to lose it. Let me just rest it there for now. These were additional corn and flint corn, popcorn, which I had been planning to plant the popcorn over in the field where we've got the chickens, so that it didn't cross-pollinate with our sweet corn. I just didn't have time, and as you can see, it's died. And do you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm not particularly sad about that. I can grow popcorn next year, and I think that might be what I do, is alternate sweet corn and popcorn, because sweet corn's lovely frozen as long as you put it straight in the freezer from picking. The tomatoes have been so prolific. We're getting so much sauce from them. They are amazing. I'm getting loads of melons, which are looking fantastic, and I'm really excited about those being ready. The aubergines are giving us tons of fruit, and again, we're using those in lots of our cooking. The chilies, we've got too many chilies. I grew too many chilies, and next year I'm not going to grow any chilies, I don't think. I bet I do. Somebody call me to account for that, because I bet I do end up growing some chilies. But I want to grow more sweet peppers next year. The over here, I really need to clear up. The spiral peppers are doing brilliantly. Over here, the dragon's egg cucumber are so prolific and so delicious. They actually taste almost like melon. They're really yummy. Right, I'm going to bring you in rather than talking to you through the jungle. Let me unscrew you from here and I'll show you what I mean. So some dodgy tomatoes on the floor that need clearing up. These all need some tidying, but look how prolific the tomatoes are. Now the bush tomatoes, I feel a bit foolish because I remember saying as I was putting them in, I never really bother to support my bush tomatoes because they tend to support themselves, and oh my goodness, that's because they've never grown as well as they've grown in this polytunnel, and they've got enormous and are clearly not supporting themselves at all. They're just sprawling along the ground. Now actually that's working okay. I can get to the fruit and we're getting tons off them. So I harvested all of the ripe fruit in here 2 days ago, and you can see how much we've got already, and that's what we're getting, kind of a massive bowl full of tomatoes every couple of days. But I do think I need to come up with something better for bush tomatoes next year. These are the spiral peppers I was telling you about. These are the dragon's egg cucumbers, which are doing so well. The Tamara cucumbers are these ones, and we've had a couple off them, but you can see they've not grown very tall and they're not giving a huge amount of fruit. When they do give fruit, they're delicious, but they're a bit slower. The basil, my goodness, so much basil, so delicious. The aubergines, there's an enormous one back here ready to take, but they are really prolific. I have had, because of my faux pas with the overwatering by leaving the water on, I've had a few split ones. That's okay, we're just taking them as soon as we spot them and cutting the split away and using them. They're absolutely fine. If they've gone too far, then they've ended up on the floor. The loofah, this is another Tamara cucumber, not doing particularly well. The loofah is now starting to vine and it's getting quite long. I don't know that it's got enough time now to give fruit, but it needs stringing up. So there's another job to add to your list when you come to write it, Emma. And let me just show you the melons. Look, chilies, far too many. I could take that many chilies every day, I think, at the moment, and we just don't use that many. But melons, 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 melons. This one's got a split in it, but doesn't look like it goes too deep, and if it is damaged, we'll just get rid of it when we've harvested it. Melons, melons, melons everywhere. So very excited about those. And then the other thing I've got in here, these are the field beans that I said to you I'd harvested so far. Most were completely dry, but there was a couple that weren't fully dry, so I've just popped them in here to make sure they're fully dry before I store them ready for next year. Can you tell it's hot in here? I've got rather out of puff talking to you in the heat. Let's move on. Now I'm just trying to think when I last brought you in here, because I think you're probably going to be pretty amazed by how prolific it's ended up being. Again, nutrient harvesting to do, particularly on the pathways. We've had some what's this, broccoli from here. So we've harvested some broccoli from here which came early, but we're still waiting on more to come. But that row is all broccoli at the back, with a couple of red cabbage coming at the front. And then if I turn you round, this really does need some time spent on it. So we have in here some turnips which I need to harvest. We have some of the lettuce, which is delicious, some carrots which are starting to get a bit crowded out by the cauliflowers, but are doing okay, and I think quite enjoying the shade that the cauliflowers are providing, but I'm gonna, I think, take back some of these leaves just to give them a bit more room. I don't think, last I checked, we had any collies coming, but these plants, these are the all the year round collies, and they're just enormous. But no cauliflowers coming just yet. The difference in temperature in here with it being the net instead of the polytunnel cover is so noticeable. It's lovely. I've mentioned the tree spinach a couple of times. This is our biggest growing of them. They're Cosmos, which haven't flowered yet but are looking good. This is Asturian tree cabbage, which I love. We haven't harvested from yet because we've just had so much else coming in. These are Brussels sprouts, I think. I'm pretty sure these are Brussels sprouts. That's not Brussels sprout, that must be some other form of cabbage. We've got some beetroot, small, which is yet to develop, but that's going to come later. Some weeds, some more beetroot, which isn't quite ready to harvest, but will be fairly soon. And some kale. And then there's more, these are Savoy cabbage along this row here. Again, not expecting those to be ready until winter, but it is coming on really lovely in here, other than it needs an afternoon spent giving it a tidy up. There are some leeks which need some TLC. They've been kept in here for too long, I think now. I need to move them on, but I'll show you our other leeks as well, which also need to move on. And these were spares, which I was kind of keeping in case some of these didn't take. But I think these can probably, what I might do is just plant them next to the chickens in their salad bar and let them do their thing and get them out of here. So there's another task. Butterfly net lives in here because despite our very best efforts to keep butterflies out, every now and again we do spot one in here and have to wake it out. Oh, something I did do in here which I hadn't shown you. You'd think I'd learn, wouldn't you? But we have also put automatic watering in here on the basis that eventually this is going to be a second polytunnel. So we had the piping, and in very dry weather it's quite helpful. We've actually had enough rain not to have need of it, but it's in here ready for next season when this becomes a second polytunnel, which is the current plan. So the other leeks that I mentioned, you may recall that this bed was full and quite prolific with leeks. We had a little bit of a disaster that in the high winds this black plastic flew over and covered the leeks, and because the weather was so bad and we hadn't come out here for a while, we hadn't noticed, so it's killed off the majority of the leeks in the middle, which is a shame. I kept joking that we were going to have too many leeks, and now I actually don't think we're going to have enough. But one thing I do need to do fairly urgently now is these ones are big enough. They're kind of pencil thickness, so I'm going to move these into one of those beds that's been emptied from removing the garlic and the beans. These are going to get moved to their final spots over there, and I think I will also probably do the same at the same time with those little leeks I've just shown you. Even though they're not quite ready to go into their final space, I've got room for them, so I think I'll probably do all of the leeks together in one go. And then behind these, if I just turn you round slightly, we have another success story, which is the corn and the squash. Now the little ones I put in, they're not going to do anything. We knew that going in. But there's plenty of fruit starting to come on the squash, plenty of corn starting to come on the corn. The corn is lovely and tall. In fact, it is now, yep, officially taller than me. And lots of the silkies growing, so there's more squash back here. So this area I'm really pleased with. And in terms of stuff to do back here, not a great deal. The weeds, I have come through here not that long ago and gave it a good weed. There was a little bit of grass coming through, otherwise there's a little bit of weeding I could do, but the squash is doing a pretty good job of keeping the weeds down. Okay, another task to do, which is becoming a bit of a nemesis, is this lot needs to be shredded, chipped, and you'll have seen that the chipper is currently sitting in the polytunnel because we have kind of a couple of times brought it out to try and tackle that. It's becoming a bit of a nemesis. I just get so frustrated with petrol powered equipment. It never seems to work. It never wants to start. It never runs for long enough. And I know it's more powerful than electrical stuff, but I just wish, in all honesty, because we spent quite a lot on that chipper and it's not really doing what we need it to do. So that's annoying, but we do need to just get on with it and get that chipped because it's just sitting there being annoying. And the other thing we need to do is to try and source some pallets. The irony when we lived in the town was we could get hold of pallets no problem for free, people giving them away all the time. And we thought moving here and being more rural, there'd be pallets all over the place to collect, but can we find a source for pallets? We really can't, we're really struggling. But we need to build a compost-based system, we need pallets for that. There's various other bits and pieces we want to build, stuff in the workshop that we need to build, that we need pallets for. And so I just need a bit of a concerted effort to, that's the downside of, I said at the start of this, I don't do social media. And one of the downsides of that is, I think it's probably on places like Facebook that you find this stuff. We're on Trash Nothing, but I can't find pallets. Anyway, I digress. I'm bringing you into the fruit cage now. Let me show you what's going on in here. So, first success story in here is the rhubarb, given this is its first year, is doing really well. Well, 3 of 4, 1, 2, 3 are doing really well. The 4th one is performing less well, but it did look dead not very long ago, and now it's got life on it. So that's a win as far as I'm concerned. The raspberries that I told you all were dead have made a fool of me and have come back. I'm very pleased they have. I'm very happy to be that kind of a fool. And we're getting a tiny amount of fruit, just really enough for a snack when you're walking around. No more than that. Certainly not enough to harvest and do anything with. But they are absolutely delicious, and frankly, given it's normally me that comes up here, I get the benefit of the snack, so I'll take that. I think they're going to do really well for us next year, but what I probably do need to do is give them some more support, something which ties them back, because these are the ones I think that will refruit on that cane rather than grow new canes. I think that's right. Trees, the strawberries never really gave us any strawberries, but what they have done, or these ones, these are the Cambridge, all the rest got decimated, but the Cambridge strawberries, look, have sent out plenty of runners, so we're leaving them be, we're letting them do their thing. There's a couple of weeds that I need to take care of, but I have been through here not all that long ago, which is why it's not too weedy in here. We had a harvest, a very small harvest of gooseberries, which we just ate as snacks, but they are delicious and are going to do well for us again, I think, next year. Red currants, same. We've not had any fruit from the red currant, but again, it's its first year, so we weren't expecting too much of it. And again, the same for the, I never remember the name of this one, the josterberry. Same for that. We've had one of the cherries hasn't come to anything, but all the other trees have done well. And the loganberries, much like the raspberries, have given us a few little snacks, a few little hints of what they will be like next year. And my job for those is to give them a bit of support so that they're climbing up rather than along. So in here, not a huge amount to be done. Probably an afternoon's worth of work, a couple of hours worth of work in here. What hasn't survived in here is the blueberries, which we kind of knew would be the case. So I'm not doing anything about this year, but next year will get some new bare root blueberries and put those in there, so that we have got some blueberries next year, because I'm watching everybody else's blueberry videos. I'm going to come back and tie that up. And it seems to have been a really good year for blueberries, so it's a shame that they got munched, but not to worry, it's not the end of the world. Okay, let's bring you over to the woodland. Now this is where stuff starts to get quite real in terms of the size of the jobs and how much I'm hoping to achieve in August. I keep saying it's we. I obviously have help, you know that. There's 4 of us working, and myself and Mr. H tend to do all of the stuff out here, or most of the stuff out here, and he in particular is Herculean in the stuff he does, but he doesn't get the downtime in the summer that I do, so he is really limited to weekend warrior work, and with everything else going on at the moment there hasn't been a lot of time for that. So I'm saying my list, it's our list, and I bet you're watching this and smirking, Mr. H. I'm sorry, it's our list. But on that list, and it does tend to be him that does this part, but we would like to continue, and you know this already if you've watched previous videos, to use that pile of clay to protect these trees in the way that we started to do over there. The wind is picking up, but hopefully you picked up most of that. So there's some strimming to do. We've trimmed this top end, there's some strimming to do along that end and across the bottom, and then some cardboarding and protection to do. We also need to get back in touch with the Woodland Trust after doing a full kind of survey, because we have had, as I said on a previous video, quite a number that haven't taken, it's not going to focus, there you go, that just haven't taken, they've not done anything at all. We think about a third, but we need to do a full inventory. So that's, you know, a fairly big piece of work, is going around and inventorying. Is inventorying a word? Taking inventory of just shy of 1,000 trees, figuring out which one's which, and explaining what we have and haven't got in terms of success. So that definitely needs doing, although that's not urgent. I would like to get it done, if not in August, then in September, ready for them to be able to place an order for next planting season. Over into cow fields then, and I'm just going to walk you round the pathway that we have strimmed and show you how far we've got. But what we'd like to have done by the end of August is to have a pathway strimmed all the way round, because we walk Otter out here, and I mean, there are other walks we can take him on the lead, but he can be off the lead here because it's our property, and he's pretty respectful of the boundaries of this field, even though this electric fence isn't electrified, and he can get through there into the neighbour's field. On occasion he does, but he always comes back when asked. Sometimes we have to ask a few times, but he does come back. But it's glorious out here. He can just bounce around. I've just recently put a short up. If you haven't seen it, check it out, because it's really cute, of him being Tigger. He absolutely adores it out here. So we love bringing him out here, but it means we're having to wade through knee-high, and in some cases waist-high grass, which is fine when it's dry, but when it's wet, isn't the most pleasant experience. And obviously as we get to the end of August, more and more, I suspect, it will be the case that it's wet. So we would like, whilst it is dry, and especially as we're going into the next couple of weeks where we're having another heat wave, to strim, as we have here, collect and store a load of hay and have ourselves a nice easy pathway. Once this is strimmed, then we can keep on top of it with the push mower. Obviously it has to be strimmed first. Right, let me take you over to the barns, show you how far we've got with the hay, and tell you about a couple of things I'd like to do in there too. So very quickly, in the barns, they've got a little bit overgrown with brambles, which aren't yet at an unmanageable state. But if you've ever dealt with brambles, you know how quickly this could become unmanageable. So I do just want to get in here. It'll only take, I don't know, half an hour if I do them quick. I'm not going to worry so much about the stuff that's grown at the front. That can die back when the weather gets worse, but they will go bananas. So definitely half an hour in there and in this smaller one. And then in the one with the gate is where we're storing. See how much hay we got just from that? That's just from that pathway and the area where the woodland is. So you get an awful lot. I mean, that's not compacted in any way. You can see why proper farmers compact their hay to store it. And then, I mean, I'm not going to dwell on this next bit too much because frankly it's an embarrassment, but the rabbit fence, what I do want to do, but not until we get some rain. So I think it's probably going to be the last bit of August when this next heat wave passes, is I'm not going to get it installed. We know it's going to take us all winter to get this installed, but we have done it up to that one and I want to get it dug out because that is a job I can do solo when Mr. H is working. It's just spade digging. So on a day that isn't too hot and when the water's when the ground's a little wetter, I will attempt to dig that. I stopped and hesitated there because something else I need to do is turn the water back on for that water trough. We turned it off when it was so wet that everywhere was flooding. But Otter does stop and have a drink out of there, so I need to. It's fed by the mains water, which is super handy when we do have animals out here. I need to turn that back on. Super quick job, but that's the sort of thing I've been wandering around noting needs doing, and it will take seconds to do. It's turning a tap, but there's too much in my brain and then I don't do it. Right, I'm walking through there is the chickens, but you've had a full update on those in the last video. So instead I'm going to bring you back round through the veg plot to the workshop, show you what's going on there, and then I'll take you into the kitchen garden. Just as I pass them, these two bamboo plants need some mulching to stop them being strangled by the grass. I mean, they're not bad. Grass isn't right up to them, but they could do with a good drink and a little bit more mulch to hold the moisture in when it does rain, I think. Again, just while I'm passing, a win to share with you is how brilliantly the orchard is doing. The guineas aren't out at the moment because it was absolutely pouring down not so long ago, so they're back in under cover, but I'll get them out again in a minute. But the apples and the pears are looking so well. Right, into the workshop we go. So what needs to happen in here is a second sort through. So everything, all of these boxes, believe it or not, have been sorted through once, and you can see I've got plenty of empty ones because of the first sort through. All of the wood has been stacked nice and neatly, so that's ready to use when it's needed. But this lot needs a second sort. So the first sort was to get rid of all the rubbish, and that's gone and gone to the tip as needed. So the next thing I want to do is take all of this back outside again to that hard standing there, and then sort it into 4 piles. A pile of stuff that needs to actually be in the garden shed, not in the workshop. So I've started that here. This is all garden shed stuff. A pile of stuff that needs to be in the garage and not in the workshop. So a lot of the kind of household paints and stuff, rollers, paint material, that's all DIY stuff for the garage rather than workshop stuff for in here. And then 2 piles of stuff that will stay in the workshop. One of tools that can just be put away when there's a place to put them away, and one of tools which need some TLC. I've got a few things. So for example, this clamp, vice rather, has got a little bit rusty, so that's going to go. Excuse the creaky door. Let me just stop that creaking. Shush. So there'll be a pile of stuff that needs a little bit of TLC before I put it away, because what I don't want to do in here is put stuff away that is damaged or needs some work and then it get forgotten at the back of a cupboard somewhere. And then once that's all done, we've got enough flooring now. We'd had enough already to do half the floor. We've got enough to complete that. So once the room's empty, we'll completely floor in the sponge stuff. And then I will be ready to start using some of this wood and this wood to create some storage for all of the tools. Now I'm not expecting to do all of that as in storage or built by the end of August, but if we can get that second sort done in August, I will be a very happy lady. All right, let's take you through then to the kitchen garden, where quite a lot's already been done in here. So we've had a good clean up, oh there's a huge horsefly, of the beds. If I just spin you around, the beds had got pretty overgrown with particularly the Russian tarragon and the what are they called, nasturtiums, had all grown up and gone over, so they've all been stripped out, but it's looking nice. I have put in some of the salads into these beds where the spaces have been made. I'll spin you around. So this bed had been just two enormous nasturtium which had completely taken over. They have now been chopped right back, and as you can see, we're getting a second flush. But in the meantime, I have popped in all of these lettuces, and we've also got some extra lettuce in some of the other beds. So there's 4 or 5 lettuce gone in here with the shiso, which we're using for lettuce, the parsley, the lemon balm, and the chives and lemongrass. The tea bed is, the chamomile is doing amazing. The 2 types of mint are doing well. The fennel, not looking so happy. I actually don't like fennel, so I'm not very sad about that. And then again, some more lettuce, a couple of butterheads gone in here. You can see again, we had some big nasturtium in here that had gone over. We also had some Russian tarragon, which had got about yay high, which I've cut right back, but that's doing brilliantly. Look how pretty they are. So happy. Such pretty plants. And we've got some summertime. And then this herb bed had completely been taken over by Russian tarragon, so I've taken that right back, which is giving this sage some room to breathe, as well as the oregano, the creeping thyme, and the rosemary, and summer savoury, which has gone to flower, and some of it's died back, but we got plenty of that in time. Now the plum tree is doing so well. Look at that. So this has been stripped of fruit. I made plum jelly with the thinnings, but what's left, it's so prolific, they're going to be wonderful. And the other thing that's looking beautiful is, look how cute that is. A wishing well. Right, last thing to show you over here. So these are the salads, the lettuces that are left, which are going to go out into the bed where the garlic used to be. These are a cautionary tale for not planting brassicas and leaving them unnetted, because they have been absolutely decimated by caterpillars. We did keep picking them off, but do you know what? I'm just going to give these up as a bad job. Start again. Sow some new brassicas, and this time keep them inside the brassica cage, the seed tray inside the brassica cage instead of out here in the garden. These are my Sweet William, which won't go outside in the bed until next year, but we're just looking after those. We have some oregano, we have some coriander, we have some sad looking dill, and some bergamot lilac, all of which needs to go in the bed. We have a puppy dog who is 11 months, so has hit pterodactyl stage, and one of the reasons that nicely one of the reasons we don't have down a great deal of down, down, otter, sit, 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 good boy, sit, good boy. So this gorgeous boy is one of the reasons that we've not had a huge amount of time, because as those of you with puppies will know, 10 months is effectively teenager, which is also known as pterodactyl, and so the training period has ramped up, and the time we're spending working with him on training is a good couple of hours a day now, if not a little bit more. So he's gorgeous, and he's so easy to train, so intelligent, but with intelligence comes a lot of time that you need to spend with them, and he is a time robber, a gorgeous one, and one we love spending time on. But my goodness me, puppy dogs and starting a small holding all in one, I mean, it takes a brave family, and apparently we are that brave family, because we went all in on a highly intelligent dog and a small holding and a full-time job and life all happening at once. No wonder there's weeds everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to come back and sit down and just wrap up with you. All right, so there is the full tour of the property alongside a extensive list of the things that I would like to achieve in August. So I'm relying on you to hold me to account for those things, and to stop being in this ridiculous funk where I'm wasting time and unable to motivate myself to do the things that I know need doing. And the ridiculous thing is, I love doing them. I just haven't had the energy. But here's the thing, doing this stuff, even just walking around with you just now, that's what gives you the energy to do the things. So it is taking that first step, it's getting up out of the chair, it's not having the second cup of coffee, it's getting out, it's doing one small thing, and inevitably that will probably lead to the next small thing, and then the list will get ticked off. I'm sounding quite optimistic, aren't I? Let's see if we can hold ourselves to account. Thanks for coming with me. I hope you've enjoyed the tour. Blue sky, it's supposed to be pouring with rain today. Have a wonderful week, everybody. I'll catch up with you next week. See you all soon.